There's so much to talk about, so let's get right to our panel. Kenneth Katzman is a senior analyst for Middle East affairs with the U.S. Congressional Research Service. Al-Ahmed is a Saudi scholar and the director of the Institute for Gulf Affairs. And among his many distinguished titles, Chas Freeman served as the U.S. ambassador to Saudi Arabia during the George H.W. Bush administration. Welcome to all of you. Thanks so much for coming on. Chas Freeman, Ambassador, I want to start with you. Where are we now in U.S.-Saudi relations? We're at a tipping point. We had a very different approach under the Obama administration, and it looks like we're going to have a very different approach under the Trump administration.
Well, there are basically 6 things that tie the U.S. to Saudi Arabia. One is oil and the exchange of oil for energy. Another has been Islam and a common purpose in that field. Still another is transit of the kingdom between Europe and Asia, commerce, sales, money, cultural exchange, counterterrorism, foreign policy. In the Obama administration, the only thing that was left was counterterrorism. Now Iran has been added as a main feature of cooperation.
So, I'll pick up on that. Did relations get that bad between the Obama administration and Saudi Arabia? And where do you see them going now? We've seen some announcements. We've seen some phone calls between the Trump administration.
Well, the Saudi monarchy has been always finding it easy to get the United States to do their work for them. If you look at the Middle East wars that the U.S. has involved in, really where they were carried out on behalf of the Saudi monarchy to defend the Saudi government. And if you remember the visit of Colin Powell at the time, Secretary Perry, they came and gave King Fahd the satellite picture, said, Saddam's coming after you. And he said, yeah, come in and protect us. That was really the goal of that war, to weaken a challenge for Saudi Arabia. You know, the same thing happened later in 2003. Now, what happened during the Obama administration, Obama gave the Saudi government and other Gulf monarchies whatever they wanted, except the Iran file. That's why they hated him so much. There were so much bad press on Obama administration in the Gulf media. They are expecting that Trump will give them what they want in Iran. They will wage a war in Iran. And that's why the Saudi and other Gulf monarchy spent a lot of money in the Clinton election campaign, because Clinton gave a promise that she will attack Iran.
There are several theories there. I just want to go to you, Kenneth Katzman. Let's break this down in terms of the relationship. You know, let's go back a little bit. Obviously, security for oil has been the traditional bargain, and also, obviously, the rivalry with Iran, terrorism, obviously, as the ambassador said. 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudis in the September 11th attacks. And then, of course, there is the battle against radical Islam. All these things are going to be playing out equally in the Trump administration. Where do you see this going?
Thank you, Nathan. And of course, I'm speaking in a personal capacity for the purpose of the show. Some of the things, you know, oil is not the great binding liquid that it used to be, because the U.S. is now almost producing almost as much as Saudi Arabia itself. The U.S. is much less dependent on oil than it used to be. So that was actually a little bit of an irritant in the Obama years, as the Saudis felt that the U.S. didn't need the oil so much and maybe the U.S. would pull away. Iran in the Trump administration is definitely a binding factor. And this is front and center, because now the Saudis feel, Saudi leadership feels they now have someone who is on the exact alignment with them in viewing Iran as the big threat to the region that must be countered.
So how does this play out, Ambassador Freeman? You were saying Iran is basically is the one big link in terms of the previous administration, but it's growing. With oil in flux and doesn't bind as much, Saudi Arabia is also buying weapons from other places, selling more oil to places like China. How does the new administration's stance on Iran play out? We've even heard about some sort of alliance coming together between Gulf states and potentially Israel, intelligence sharing. This is a very different policy.
Well, there are quite a number of questions in that question. First, I think we're seeing the Iran issue play out primarily in Yemen. The Yemen war is extremely unpopular in the United States, but everybody regards Iran as a serious enemy. The backing for the Saudis in the Trump administration seems to be essentially unqualified. Second point is that The Trump administration, even more than the Obama administration, relishes the development of fracking and the emergence of the United States as, in effect, the swing producer in the global oil market. It's our frackers, small, medium-sized businesses, not the Saudi monarchy, that determines the level of oil supply there is internationally now. That's different. But we have some serious differences, as you said, because there is a narrative, very widely believed, that links the Sunni extremist terrorists in Syria and Iraq with the Saudi brand of Islam. And this hangs over the relationship, troubles it. And I think we have to say that this doesn't have quite the stability that it once did.
Yeah, Ali, pick up on that. I mean, obviously, we're focused on Iran, but Syria is still much an open, bleeding wound. The Obama administration really sort of stepped back from that. What about the Trump administration's plan for Syria and also its relationship with Saudi?
Yeah, this is going to be Syria, I think, is going to be a determining factor, to be honest, in that relationship.
Really?
Because the Saudis have spent a lot of money, billions of dollars, in fact, into Syria because they want to weaken Assad. It was something that actually Obama, you know, he might try to say we didn't do a lot, but they did. There was a lot of weapon transfer to the opposition, including what the U.S. calls terrorist organizations, but Saudi money, Qatari money, and U.S. facilitation, Turkish facilitation as well. So because these weapons came through Turkey. Now Trump have a bigger fish to fry with Russia. He cannot go, and even he said those safe zones, he's not going to be able to do it without Russian acceptance, because the Russian airplanes, which are flying with Syrian Air Force. So he has to make a choice between the Russians and the Saudis. I don't think he's going to put the Saudis ahead of the Russians, because I think a relationship between Russia and the United States is much more important for him. So I think the Syria issue was going to go in favor of the Syrian regime, and it's going to be, I think it's going to reinforce, it's going to piss the Saudis. But in terms of Yemen, I think he's willing to give them whatever they want in Yemen, and maybe some of what they want in the Iranian fodder. And the terrorism, I think I told you before the show that we have something to, we're going to come up, it's going to make a huge difference. It's going to prove that the Saudi government, until recently, had links to terrorism, even in the United States, with numbers and details and information that's undoubtable. And that shows you it's not only the 15th of the 19th, but after that, we're talking about 15,000 Saudi nationals who are members of ISIS and Al-Qaeda and other groups that the Saudi government enabled.
Well, we don't know whether there's links with Saudi government or Saudi society.
That's what we're going to show. That's what we're going to show.
Okay, well, we'll obviously look forward to reading your research. Kenneth Katzman, do you agree on, it's kind of weird that the US and Saudi seem to be moving in different directions on Syria, but in the same direction on Yemen. There are some contradictions in the relationship, especially when you factor Iran's role in Syria. Is this relationship, instead of being founded on two principles like oil and security, becoming a transactional one? Something we've heard a lot about with the Trump administration.
Well, a lot of relationships are transactional, but I mean, I think there is a common goal. I mean, the Trump administration is back to the original doctrine, basically, that Iran is an adversary. Iran is not a partner. Iran is not somebody to be induced into some sort of a cooperative relationship. Iran is to be countered. The Saudis have that very same view. Yemen, I think, is a perfect example of where that may play out, because the Saudis want to defeat the Houthis, and now Iran has given the Houthis weapons. They fired it on U.S. ships. They missed us. Saudi ships, UAE ships, and the Trump administration, I think, that was in the statement of putting Iran on notice. One of the things that was cited was the Houthis, specifically by Mr. Flynn, who is now dismissed.
I'm so glad you brought up Mike Flynn, because
retaliation against the Houthis, which the Saudis would certainly favor also.
Ambassador Freeman, I want to bring you in here. Mike Flynn, obviously, as you just said, put Iran on notice before he himself gave in his notice as a security advisor here. That policy doesn't change then, with no matter who comes in for the Trump administration as national security advisor?
I doubt it. There's a very deep-rooted antipathy to Iran in the incoming group. Frankly, I don't think it makes a lot of sense, but there it is.
So can we pick up on that? Is the U.S.-Saudi relationship then cemented in a sort of anti-Iran feeling of the new administration, and how does that play out for U.S.-Saudi relations in the wider Middle East?
It is, I think, it's a relation. The policy that currently is really dysfunctional because the United States, even under the Obama administration, condemned what Kenneth said, Houthi Yemeni forces, okay, firing at a military target that's attacking them for 2 years. I mean, that's the war. You attack me, I attack you. You don't, if it's a ship or a plane. The United States has been a partner to this war. Everybody knows it, So even the U.S.
A silent.
Minor.
No, not minor. The targeting, the satellites, logistics.
I like that.
It's a partner. Fueling, it's a partner. It's not declared openly, but everybody knows it. They are in the room. They are in the command and control. So, in war terms, internationally, they are legitimate target. That's to say that they should be doing it, but that's war. If you have war, that's what you have. So really, the U.S. under the Obama and Trump administration has been really a failed policy towards Yemen. What that happened is we've seen evidence, even BBC showed it, that they are aligned, including the raid. Killed a Qaeda guy who was on the Saudi side.
There's much more to talk about terrorism in the Middle East when we come back. But we have to just take a break. We need to take a break now, but more of our conversation when we return. Stay with us. You're watching The Heat.